Hey everyone, Gaijin Goomba here. You know, when I get asked what franchise I want recreated for the Switch, I think there's one answer we can all unanimously agree with. Freaking Animal Crossing. I mean, I'd honestly take a New Leaf port at this point. Lord knows I've put dozens upon dozens of hours in that game with little to show for it other than my horrible weebiness. But if ever there was a good game to go to bed to, Animal Crossing was it. And since New Leaf, there hasn't been a better experience. I mean, don't get me wrong, Happy Home Designer was alright. It didn't have the same feel of making your own home by your own standards, but the new UI was good and it still had its charm, which was a lot more than I could say for the RNG nightmare that was Amiibo Festival for the Wii U. But the core games themselves have been nothing short of a relaxing, adorable, peaceful experience. Or so I freaking thought. After the release of New Leaf and the Villagers unveiling for Smash Brothers, the Animal Crossing community took the game in some really dark directions. Never mind the fact they turned the villager into a deranged axe murderer, entire towns were just devoted to mindfudgery. Hitoku Village alone had some of the most twisted imagery I've ever seen from this franchise. Terrifying neighbors, baby butcheries, disturbing bathrooms, underground bloody facilities. This one town by itself just goes to show how dark this game can get. But if you thought only the user base was responsible for some of the most morbid imagery in the franchise, pull up a chair, Sonny, because ever since the beginning, Animal Crossing has kept a dark secret buried in its game. And it all has to do with these guys. For the handful of you who have no idea what these are, gyroids as they're called are one of the most iconic things in Animal Crossing. Typically only found after a big rainstorm, normally they act as housing decor once you set them in place. Occasionally they'll jitter around and make a very faint noise depending on what type you have, but they're more than just furniture. They'll also harmonize with anything being played through the various musical furniture available in the game. Now, even if you haven't played Animal Crossing, you've probably seen this design before. Any fan of Kirby or Final Fantasy can get behind the circular eyes and mouth, balding head, and parallel posed arms, because they all come from one thing: Haniwa dolls. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, shoot, Gaijin, we already know that. This was old news back in 2012 when New Leaf released. That's very true, and I'll give Did You Know Gaming all the praise I can for being 100% right. However, there's an even more sinister truth behind the gyroids that's been omitted that is much, much worse than simply grave robbing. But to understand that, we gotta break down everything about these innocent little statues, cause good holy lord do they have some dark origins. Haniwa, literally meaning clay ring, are unglazed earth and hollow sculptures that were heavily used during the Kofun period in Japan between 2050 and 538 CE. Though historians are still not 100% sure of the Haniwa's use, most are under the conclusion that these clay figures were used in funeral ceremonial rites. The Nihon Shoki, one of the oldest written texts in Japanese history, cites the dolls as being used to replace human sacrifices. Apparently when someone passed on, their attendants and slaves were to pass on with them. That is until Emperor Suinin issued a special edict for funeral rites. From now on, make it a rule to erect clay figures and not hurt people. Like I said, the jury is still out on how Kofun period Japan utilized these dolls, but if the above mention is in fact true, I'm already feeling a little uncomfortable putting these things in my home. Now, while people may have come to the conclusion that Haniwa dolls were only fashioned after the O-face designs we've seen used in gaming, that couldn't be any further from the truth. Haniwa dolls were created with a ton of different forms. Yeah, there were the cylindrical ones, but there were also others that were made of images of houses, animals, objects like weapons and armor, and even elaborately detailed humanoids decorated with various dresses, poses, and occupations, and all of them were believed to have different purposes. For example, the houses were thought to be replicas of the deceased's home where their spirit could comfortably visit. Item Haniwa, or Kizai Haniwa as they were called, were believed to be the items that the spirits would use in the next life, from things like farm tools to weapons which would help keep evil spirits at bay. But it's the purpose of those tall, cylindrical humanoid Haniwa that made my jaw drop to the freaking floor when I heard what their purpose was. See, when they were first discovered, it was believed that these Haniwa were basically decorative pillars that marked the perimeter of a particular Kofun grave mound. However, in correlation with how the other Haniwa dolls represented items and places used in the afterlife, it's now believed that these goofy-looking clay dolls are actually vessels for the spirits of the deceased who are buried within the mound. Do you know what that means? That means that not only is your town in Animal Crossing built on top of one, if not more, of these Kofun grave mounds, considering the ease of gyroid excavation after a heavy rainfall, not only are you actively grave robbing those buried beneath your precious rose garden, but you and all of your townsfolk are enslaving the spirits of the dead to a life of musical servitude at best and an eternal existence as decor at worst. Think about it. With the exception of Lloyd, who you never see getting excavated, gyroids are very, very subtle. They only move on slight occasion and only make very small discrete sounds, similar to how folks in real life have described ghost encounters. It's always something subtle, like a quick sound or a movement out of the corner of your eye. And these freaking gyroids behave the exact same way. So is it that unlikely that they would be possessed by some kind of spirit? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've always felt really weirded out having one of these things in my room. It's just unsettling, like I'm being watched or something. But considering how actual Haniwa are thought to act as a vessel for the deceased, it makes all the sense in the world for gyroids to behave the way that they do. And it's not just the player character either that's kinda creepy, even the townsfolk like KK Slider are in on it, forcing the gyroids to act as percussion during his nightly club mixes. God, and here I thought the villager was bad. I don't know, guys. You can believe what you want, but I think I'm gonna steer clear of those ground sphincters from here on in. Either way though, thanks for watching everyone. With Halloween season well in swing, I've been working on a lot of videos celebrating the season of Spoop, including one explaining how Cuphead is a literal game from hell over on my channel. Click those annotations and links in the description to check it out. Or you can always check out more of MatPat's great game theories. But until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goomba, signing out.